Good afternoon, Istanbul. How are we doing, guys? It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank you all for coming, especially taking the time to sit through this talk. So without further ado, I'm here to talk about wallets, but I want to talk about something else first. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Google Trends and Analytics, but it kind of gives you an idea of where the actual data is from people searching. So I just brought up Bitcoin here for a second because I want to talk about geography. So it's funny enough that we're here in Turkey, and if you look at actually people searching Bitcoin, Turkey is number 3. So we're in our actually very prominent market right here, right now. So I really wanted to highlight that. And then secondly, if you actually look at the key terms people are searching with Bitcoin, you see it's about the price, then it's about the price, it's about the price one more time, whatever Kurt's Bitcoin is, I think it's price again. And then actually the 5th key term here is Bitcoin stock. And why that's important is because people still think Bitcoin is a stock, and it's over 10 years now, and people are still searching that term. Now, I know what you're going to say. There's ETFs, Nick. It just could be people being confused. Well, that's true, but I just want to highlight we're still very early to the game. And outside of this room, you think of your mom, your sister, maybe your cousin. Crypto is just a foreign concept to them. So it's really important that we make this user journey very easy for all of them. So since this is a Solana event, I wanted to go ahead and show you what everyone thinks about Solana. So obviously, we're interested in the price, and then we're kind of looking at other coins. So we're looking at Bitcoin, price again, Ethereum, so I guess it's not dead after all, and then XRP, which I thought was kind of funny, but I just wanted to highlight for fun. So this kind of gives way into my actual last part of this. We're talking about when you search the key term crypto, people are interested in the news, the price, Bitcoin, all not really that shocking. Our first actual use case, which is trading. And then 5th, and kind of, an important one here is the crypto wallet. So people actually getting into their journey. So this is kind of a perfect segue for me to talk about Trust Wallet. So let me go ahead and kind of talk about what we are doing over at Trust Wallet. So it is the most downloaded mobile app for self-custody there is in the world today, with over 200 million downloads on iOS and Android, and 15 million monthly active users. Now, this is a big milestone for us and our team, and we take this with high regard to our users because that's who's got us there. Now, it's interesting enough, Solana users on average hold over $5,000 in assets in their wallet, which is kind of crazy to think about because you've seen a lot of money here. Now, regardless of what you think about Trump, during the token launch, you saw some record high swap volume. You saw people trying to buy it from a centralized exchange, but they couldn't even get Solana. You saw people getting flash loans for different on-ramp providers just to cover the influx that was happening during this time. It was kind of tremendous, actually. It was a great strain on the network to show us where some of the fail points were. Now, most Solana users on Trust Wallet, they're not just here to trade the meme coins. They're actually sending funds, they're staking, and they're exploring. And that's kind of why it's very important that we make sure that this is very easy for them to go on just beyond trading Trump coins or other meme coins, not financial advice. But let's go ahead and take another dive into this. So we can't scale if it's still hard to use. And why that's important? Well, how are you going to get your mother, your brother, your friends, your family, and everyone else in there? So you can't have these confusing errors with failed transactions, maybe because your slippage is set too low, or you're using the wrong network type, or you didn't copy the contract address. All of these things are pain points, and that's not going to onboard the next 1 billion users. We're already at that 200 million download mark. I want to get to the billions. So while we've had a lot of talks today about Solana and its speed, it's amazing, guys, but the problem is the UX is still a barrier. Now, we've seen some other talks talking about UX specifically today and yesterday, but I just want to talk about why it's important that real adaptation needs products that feel smooth, right? So our goal is we want to make sure that this is not complex for our users, but we also don't want to take that control away. We still want them to have the power because that's why they're moving money off chain, not your keys, not your crypto. So how are we doing that? So recently, we've kind of made some changes to the app. I'm not sure if you've opened it recently, but the home screen and some other things are changing, and I got some exciting new announcements I want to break to you guys today. So the trending token page has existed. That's not really that exciting, but people are still interested to see what is something that gets me to want to buy a token. From there, how do we actually buy crypto? So We have a plethora of on-ramp providers. I'm sure you all know that, but it's still very important to get those users onboarded and get them activated. Now, they have a token because they saw it, they bought it, they're holding, but that's not doing anything because we're just holding money in a different app. And there's plenty of those, right? So how are we actually bringing our users on? We have our own Discover page. And the important part about that is now users can actually connect their wallet. And these are kind of pre-approved ones that we all know is safe. So you can go in there, connect to it, and then you can actually start interacting with these dApps. This is the first time a user might be getting on chain to actually do an activity. And this is kind of really exciting to actually activate some of these users. So I also wanted to highlight that it doesn't matter if you're on iOS, Android, or desktop. We have a Chrome extension as well. It can even be a Chromebook, so that freedom and barrier to entry is at the lowest it could possibly be. So no more guesswork. I want a smoother experience. How are we helping to make that happen over at Trust Wallet? Well, we've recently done our Helios integration, our turbo swaps, so increasing slippage, the gas, and everything else to make sure your transactions land on time. We talked a lot about MEV this week, or these last 2 days, so we're also addressing that. So clear error messages, making sure the users understand what the problem is why it's not going through. Is it high congestion? What is it? Kind of making it clear expectations to the users so they know why. And then blockchain explorers, so everyone here understands why it's important to be able to see where the tokens are going, some information before they click a buy, and then trending tokens just for visibility so people can see, hey, things are actually happening, this is important, and this is why. So going beyond that hype, I want to talk a minute about how our users aren't just meme coin traders. We're talking about creators, people who are doing cross-border payments, remittances. These are all very important things. We especially see a lot of this for Solana on stables. So that kind of leads me into my bigger announcement today that starting very soon, wake, wake, nudge, nudge Monday, you might be able to see stablecoin earn featured in our app. So now you'll be able to earn on stables. Now, previously it was just crypto. Now you're getting the stables, kind of like the centralized exchanges. And that's really important to our users because they want to hold their money off the exchange, but they don't want to lose that ability to earn passive income. But maybe they're not ready to go to a dApp or a DEX and manage all of those different liquidity pools. So we want to make that very easy for them. So our users aren't loud. They're intentional, right? We talked about our users having over $5,000 in their wallets for Solana users. This is very intentional. We're not just seeing people, claiming the airdrop and then walking away. There is some of that, but we're actually talking about users that are going above and beyond. So furthermore, only about 10% of our users actually use Solana today. So there's huge room for growth, both for us and the community. So that's why we're taking feedback every single day and striving to make Trust Wallet better. So we want to make Solana feel better to everyone, not just your degens, not just the newbies, everyone. You got to strike a little bit of a balance there because otherwise you're going to upset someone. So I know some people are like, oh, I just want to get my tokens here, and I want to trade up, and I want to do 10x leverage, and I want to rush into that meme coin. But not everybody wants that. We talked about the use case of cross-border payments, remittances, keeping your crypto safe. And that's kind of what the important thing is with Trust Wallet. That's why you trust, right? So where do we go from here? It's really important that we make sure that dApp discovery is very easy. Now, we saw some other talks yesterday about this and even today. How are we making sure that these dApp connections take place? So we want to make sure that in our Discover page, whether you actually go and search the URL yourself, you're on mobile, or you're on browser extension, we want this to be as seamless as possible, regardless of what chain you're on, even if it's Solana or Ethereum, right? So we want to make sure that our first-time users are actually being activated. The biggest thing we see is someone downloads the app and then maybe they bought crypto. Let's say they buy $100. What do I do now? And that's where we have a huge drop-off, right? It's talking about activating those users because they don't know that some of these things exist. They don't know you can go enter an LP pool on a DEX, or you can trade with leverage, or all of these other great things. So we want to make sure that we're actually introducing users to be on-chain, not just another app on their phone, right? So how are we doing this? Well, we're working directly with the Solana builders to raise UX standards for all, right? I know there's plenty of wallets out there, so I think that's great for our users because more wallets equals more competition, and everyone is benefit there. Here we go. So without further ado, there's one more final announcement I'd like to make. So we talked about some of those things with high value trading at times and slippage and all that kind of stuff. But we made it very simple, but we don't want to take that away from some of our more advanced users. So I can't give you an exact timeline yet, but it's coming up pretty soon. You'll be able to actually go into our app, and then on the swap page, you can set custom slippage, and there'll be a whole bunch of other features that you'll actually be able to change for yourself to make sure that you're getting the best possible execution time. But we also want to make sure that that newbie user is still getting the best execution time without having to go in and change all of these settings for themselves. So we're actually going ahead and we're setting the slippage by default for most of our users. And again, anyone can opt in to change whatever that needs to be, but we're doing that based on network congestion, times, and everything else that we can use at our disposal to help this thing go through. So without further ado, I want to thank you again for all coming here today. It was a pleasure having you guys, and that's the end for me. Thank you.